This episode is sponsored by the Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal. Over the past 4 years, I have had the opportunity to help over 30 women identify, accept, and take action in the parts of their lives where they feel stuck. My heart's desire is to do that with every woman I come in contact with, but the truth is that's not realistic. So instead, I created a prayer journal that goes through that same journey. The Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal is designed for you to dig deep and answer questions that will pull out where you are stuck on your journey. The Slang Self-Doubt Prayer Journal consists of 6 sections of journal prompts and areas for reflections for when you want to dig a little deeper and just take your thoughts to another level. Whether it takes you 6 weeks or 6 months to complete, I promise you will not regret it. Head on over to my website at www.feliciawallace.com and select the books tab to make your purchase. If you are ready to find your fears and slay them, go to www.feliciawallace.com, select books, and get your copy today. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. I am back after a month of celebrating some awesome women. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first of all, I just want to welcome all the new listeners. If you just started listening to us because you've seen some stuff during the past month, in the month of March, and you were like, oh, what is this? Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the tribe. I haven't given y'all a name yet. I don't know. I keep saying family. You know, some of it be that you hear people have these names for their communities and for their family and for their tribe. And I'm always just kind of like, I don't know what sounds right. So if y'all can think of anything, send me a DM, let me know what would sound good. The Slang Self-Doubt something. I don't even know. Like what y'all want to be called, right? Sisters, cousins, girlfriends. I don't know. Like we'll figure that out. But welcome to the ride. Welcome to the journey. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the continued listeners. Thank y'all for coming back. Because I know sometimes when you take a break, they must be like, oh, I forgot this podcast is even here. But yes, I am back for it's not a season, but we're doing things a little differently this year. So previously I would just record throughout the year. But God was very intentional this year about telling me what to talk about on certain months. And then also when to take breaks in whatever it is I was doing so I could highlight other stuff. So, we'll see. So March was when we talk about, so let me just get into it. So March was Women's History Month. And being as though it was Women's History Month, the last 2 years I have honored and celebrated women. So the first year it was me just celebrating women who inspired me just throughout the years. And then last year I did something where I honored 31 women who had been on the podcast. And so God told me to do that again. And it's just so dope to be able to see that. Like I interview more than 31 women. So then that's another thing, because it's just like, I guess who you pick or how it works. And so just kind of randomly, I'll just go through and I'll just pick names, and, that's just kind of how that goes. But just to still be able to highlight those women for the 31 days is such an amazing thing for me. One, because it just reminds me of like my purpose and what God has called me to do, and the fact that I'm able to do it, but then also that these women actually trust me with their journey and trust me with their story enough to come and share it on the show. And so that's major for me. And then the other thing that I did was a series, an amazing IG live series where we talking about the importance of women's wellness. And we talked to some dope women. So we talked to psychotherapist Kira Flipping, health coach and registered dietitian Wintana Kairos. We talked to fitness instructor and trainer Patrice Murphy. We talked to marriage coach Laura Geathers. We talked to mindset and money coach Tiffany Burns. Y'all, if y'all did not listen to those lives, you can go and check the replay in the events highlight. It was so dope. I'm gonna probably throw out some snippets here and there, but the conversations that we had was so amazing. People showed up every single week. So thank y'all for showing up every single week and being engaged in the conversation. And when I started it and what I thought of, well, when God gave it to me, I just was kind of like, well, I'm not really sure, what that's going to look like. But again, I got to highlight 5 other dope Black women. Like, it's just the platform that God has given me and what He has allowed me to be able to do during this time. I'm just grateful. I literally couldn't imagine just kind of being in this space and being able to do this every day. Like, this is my real life. Like, when I think about it, this is my real life. So I'm so grateful for that. And then, y'all, in spite of the fact that we did not air not one podcast in the month of March, because I made sure everybody got their stuff in February, we hit 37,000 downloads in the month of March. Like, shout out to y'all for continuing to listen. Shout out to y'all for continuing to share the podcast, getting it on the airways and in people's face and showing them and having them listen. Like, I'm so grateful to y'all. I just thank you for just continuing to be on this journey with me and continue to just show up. Y'all know we trying to hit 50,000 downloads in 2022. And so I need y'all to share with at least 5 to 10 people every single time you listen to an episode. Share with at least 5 to 10 people. Put it on your social media, whatever it is that you need to do. Send it in a text thread. I don't even care, but we need to get other people on this journey and get them on this ride so they can learn how to slay their self-doubt, sis. Okay. So this month, as we've been doing the last couple of months, well, in March and nope, not March, but in January and February, we talked about how self-doubt shows up in your faith and how it shows up in your health. And it's so timely. So I think I told y'all before that God gave this to me in December as we were driving to Atlanta for Christmas, like what it was I was going to talk about this year. And I kept saying, man, this don't even make no sense. Like, it felt out of order. I don't even know what order it should have been in, but it just felt, I don't know. It wasn't for me. So it just was like, okay. But this, so when I realized what it was, it really came for this to be the topic of April is like right on point, because right now I'm in this not transition phase, but I'm definitely in this phase of really understanding what God has called me to do, how important it is, and how I just can't let my foot up off the gas, right? So this month we are going to discuss how self-doubt can affect your purpose. Now, I know a lot of people are like, I don't even know what my purpose is. You're right. There's some people who don't know, and there's others of us that do. I would say something that my pastor used to say to me is that say to us is that your purpose is a burden, like whatever that burden is that you feel down on the inside, that you are like, it bothers you to see things a certain type of way, and you feel like, I have to fix this, I have to do something, and you feel like, I have the answer, I'm going to solve this problem, whatever it is. That could be a part of your purpose, right? The definition of a purpose is the reason for something is done or created, or for which something exists. Again, like your whatever your intention, like what it is that you do certain things, purposefully, of course. But when this conversation of what we're talking about is the reason why something is done, and we're talking about God's purpose for your life. Some of it is that we don't know, right? We don't necessarily know exactly what it is. Now, if you think about it, like for me, I know now what my purpose is. I didn't know before. However, I can look back over my life and be able to say, oh yeah, it showed up when I was 22. I didn't know it didn't look like this. It looked like something else, but it definitely showed up at 22. And God has always put me in positions and put me in places where slaying self-doubt was a part of me. It was a part of how we're talking to people. It was a part of how I did my job. It was a part of relationships with people. I was always encouraging other people. I was always, telling people to believe beyond their limits, right? And I also always struggle with it as well, right? And so once I'm able to see that the thing that I struggle with, but also the thing that I've been able to do very naturally, like in real life, is very natural what it is that I do. I recognize that that's my purpose, right? And so, did you hear that ad at the beginning of the show? If you're a business owner looking to expand your reach, you can promote your company or product with a host read pre-roll or mid-roll ad by me on the Slang Self-Doubt podcast. If you want more information, email info@FeliciaWallace.com. That's info@FeliciaWallace.com. Now, back to the show. This series is going to be good for me. All of these time, every time these are really for me, but and y'all are just listening. But this series is going to be good for me because over the past month, I really had been struggling with self-doubt and wondering like, okay, what's the next move? Am I making the right decision? I know if y'all been listening to me for a while, you're like, girl, this seems like you've been doing this for a while. And the reality is that yes, because there are different levels to your purpose, right? Sometimes it's just figuring it out and understanding, like, oh, am I really supposed to be doing this? The calling, like, and there's a difference between a calling and a purpose, right? And so, for a period of time, I was getting it confused, right? I was like, I thought the calling was my purpose, and then really trying to figure out what it was I was supposed to do. And then, sometimes when you get wrapped up in self-doubt and you get wrapped up in your limits and beliefs, you allow other people's thoughts of what it is you should be doing to infiltrate your thoughts and what it is that God is actually calling you to do, and you get off a track. And so for me, I've had to intentionally over the past month or so, like weed out the things that were not from me and that were not from God. And you don't realize how much information that you intake and how much opinions that you hold on to. Like, where did that even come from? That's not even my thought. That's somebody else told me something, and now I was thinking that. So now I have to switch up how I was doing. And so when you really get to the core of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, for me, self-doubt comes back up again. And again, remember, as we talk about this, self-doubt shows up for me in lots of different ways. It could be procrastination. It could be sadness. It could be like, so it's not just like I'm doubting myself, like I can't do it. Some of it is a delay in progress. Like that's self-doubt. Like, can I really do this? I may not be saying the words, but my actions are showing that I haven't moved forward because I'm worried about the outcome, right? And I want to say this because we're not going to discuss the incident because everybody has their own opinion about it. I have my own opinion about it. And if you want to hear it, you can go listen to the last episode of The Girl Who Said That podcast, which came out this past Friday because we ended season 2. So if y'all haven't listened to The Girl Who Said That podcast, which I am one as well, I need you to go back and listen to season 2. But we talked about it and you can hear my opinion there. But for the pertaining to this conversation right here, during Will's acceptance speech, Denzel Washington, he said Denzel Washington said to him, at your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you. And I got chills right at that moment. Like I was like, oh, like that is so real because at the same, so let me say this. When you say your highest moment, that doesn't necessarily mean that you reach your peak, right? That is maybe the highest of that level, right? Because there's levels and levels, and we keep going up, right? So for instance, when I was still at work and I knew God had called me out of my job, I knew that was what I was supposed to do. That was at that level. I had to get out of it. I still ain't where I'm supposed to be, right? But I had to get out of that space. But when it got closer to me leaving and me really being at peace with knowing that this was the next thing, and I was clear that I'm leaving this job to pursue my purpose. I'm leaving this job to follow what God has called me to do. The devil was coming for me. When I tell you the stuff that was happening in my job, that I was like, can I go now? Can I go now? I need to go right now. Like today, I can't do this no more. Lord, we're going to have to figure out the rest of the stuff because I can't wait until when you say I actually have to leave. I need to go now. But it is so true because at that moment, like the enemy knew that I was in purpose. Like I was literally saying, like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And I was telling people out my mouth, like when people said, oh, where are you going? Did you get another job? I said, no, what God has for me, I cannot do here. I have to leave here in order to do what he's called me to do. I don't even know what that is yet. I was stepping out on faith. I didn't have no words. I remember doing my exit interview and she asked, where are you going? What are you doing? And I said, I'm going home. And, she was asking like, is there anything that we can do to keep you to stand there, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no. I said, because I know that I'm my job is complete. I'm done here. Right. So I know that I'm ready to go on to the next thing, but I have to leave this thing. That was one level. The next level was what I was going, coming home and what that was going to look like, right? So when you hear that and you say it's your highest level, it ain't when you getting an award, it ain't when you on stage, it's not when you on a platform, it's not when you out here, it's whatever level that God has you at that moment when you are in purpose and you know what it is that you are doing. That is when the enemy comes, because his job is to kill, steal, and destroy. Period. That's at any level. It don't matter where you are. If you are at work or you are in your home, right? The enemy comes into your house to distract you from whatever it is that you're purposed to do. So, I love that quote because it's so true, but I want people to understand it. Like you don't have to be at the highest. You could be exactly where you are at that level, and God is trying to take you to another level, and the enemy does not want you to grow. The enemy does not want you to know God's purpose for your life, right? And so, and when we talk about this really quickly and get this out the way, but we're going to talk over the next couple of weeks about Jeremiah 29:11-13, right? And so most people listen to read 11 and they say, oh, this is it. So it says, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. That's usually where people stop at. Like, the Lord says, I have plans for you. He has a purpose for your life. He knows exactly what it is he wants you to do, right? And that your life is good, and that and it's going to be hopeful, and you have a future. So that means that he knows exactly what's happening. 12 and 13 say, in those days when you pray, I will listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. We just gonna go off of 11 because that's where we at right now. We're gonna go off the first one so that everybody we can get to this. So here are my points about this one. The first thing is that God has a plan for you. He has a plan for your life, even when you cannot see it, even when you don't know what it is. Trust that he has a plan for you. Trust that he knows exactly what's supposed to happen. We are so social media is a gift and a curse, right? It's a necessary evil because you're able to see people at different phases of their life. And there's times where we look and we be like, dang, I'm trying to get there. What do I need to do that? And sometimes you looking at somebody else's path. Not sometimes, but every time when you are comparing yourself to somebody else, you're looking at God's plan for that person. That is not your blueprint. That is not your plan. He has a plan for you. So that means you have to trust that even in the difficult times, even in the storms, even in the challenges, even in the times where it don't make no sense, even in the times where you were like, what is happening? How did I get here? When did we get ice cream? All of those things that you have to trust that God has a plan for your life. You have to trust that he knows better than you. And I'm not saying that it's easy, because we want control. We want to be able to control the narrative. We want to be able to control how we show up. When that time came for me, when I knew it was time for me to leave, I wanted to control that. I told y'all, I was like, well, the Lord told me it's time to go. So I'm going to leave in October. That way I get a nice Christmas and Thanksgiving break. And then I'll, go back to look for a job in January. That is not what happened. If you've been listening to this podcast or following me on social media for a while and you're ready to start your journey to healing, or you're ready to confront your doubts and insecurities, there are 3 ways I can help. First, you can download the journal prompt from my website. Use this as a guide to get back on track with where God is calling you. Secondly, you can go to my website and purchase the Slaying Self-Doubt Prayer Journal. Using this prompt and journal will pull out where you are stuck on your journey. These questions will force you to dig deep and find your fears. Lastly, if you're ready to invest in your healing journey and work directly with me, book a 30-minute connection call with me today. This allows us to see if we are a good fit for each other. So head on over to my website, www.feliciawallace.com, to do one or all 3 of these. That's www.feliciawallace.com. Now, back to the show. I did not leave in October. I left the following June. And even still through that entire process, the way he pruned me throughout that, because my work wasn't complete. I wasn't done. But if I had done it on my terms, I can guarantee you I would not be here right now. Guarantee. Because I would have gone back to work. Because it wasn't, I would have been doing it my way. And my way would have sent me back to work January of 2019. Like I would have left in, remember, this happened in January, February of 2018 when God planted the seed and told me it's time to go. I was like, oh, he must need now. Like, let me give myself a couple of months. In October, I'm out. And I was supposed to, my plan was to go back to work in Jan because he didn't tell me what I was supposed to do. I assumed. I added to his plan. I knew I was supposed to leave, and then I added to it. I went a little ahead and said, let me just go ahead and figure out this is what he wants to do. But if I had not just trusted him and I had not said, oh, all the things that happened, my husband saying no, that was a part of God's plan because I'm in alignment with him. And I'm like, well, Lord, you told me to go, but if he ain't, then I guess I got to stay, because at the end of the day, this is the man you told me to marry. And we got to be on one accord. I can't be out of order with him and you. That's, it just not going to work. But because I follow his plan, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. It may not look like it, but I am exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. God's plan for your life is good. Again, in spite of your test, in spite of the storm that you are in right now, everything will work out for God's good. I said at the beginning of this that in the midst of me knowing that I was supposed to do something great, when I tell you the storm was heavy around me, like it was a period of time during the time where I knew I was supposed to transition out. I thought I was going to lose my job. I thought I was going to get fired. And I said, well, Lord, I didn't think I was supposed to get fired. I thought I was leaving on my own, like on my own. But that was the turmoil that I was in between me wanting to quit, in between me thinking I'm going to get fired. Like it was a period of time for like some months that I was just like, oh my God, this isn't going to work. Like they are letting so many people go that nobody, I'm talking about left and right, people was boom, boom. Every month, every single month. I promise y'all. Remember, I said I was supposed to leave in October 2018. From November 2018 until March 2019, a leader was let go of every single month, if not two leaders around me. I'm talking about these are people that I had been in relationship with for 5+ years, people I have been working alongside most of my career. In an instant, they was gone. In an instant, it was like, wait a minute, what's happening? Now, mind you, I was like, well, Lord, this is the plan we have, right? But when it looked like I was next, God showed up. He gave me more. Like even in the midst of that, he gave me more. He gave me additional resources and additional responsibility. Like he showed me what I could handle, even in the midst of that storm. And it worked out for my good. I still walked away. Actually, I walked away sooner than what I was supposed to. Like in the midst of me being like, what is happening? What is going on? That is when my husband called me and said, how can we get you home sooner? Can I get an amen? I wish I had an audience or a burr, burr, organ, whatever. Like that's what that in that moment, like in the midst of my storm, in the midst of the test of God saying, like, are you gonna stick this out to the end? I said, we have an end goal. This is what I'm supposed to do. I prayed about it. The Lord said, I told the Lord that I can't. Remember, I prayed and I said, God, I can't leave until Ryan says I leave. So that was the other thing. Even though I knew I was supposed to go, I could not go until my husband said, let's go. And until he made that call, in the midst of them people leaving left out, I was coming home like, man, somebody else got let go today. What? Stuff was happening within my offices. Staff was rotating. Staff was leaving. Staff was transitioning. Like it was so much stuff happening that I wanted to throw in the towel. But I knew what my prayer was, and I had to wait until the Lord said it was time to go. And when it was time to go, your girl was ready to. I was out. I was like, go ahead, let me sign my letter. let's put this in. Let's go. My boo said we can go. We out of here, right? And then the third thing is that God will give you a future and a hope, right? when I couldn't see what was happening, when I didn't know, remember, I said, I have no idea why God had me leave my job. I don't know. He didn't say anything except for it's time to go. That was it. There was no like, it's time to go and build a business. It's time to go and coach other women. It's time to go and full-time entrepreneurship. It's time to go and take care of your family during the midst of a pandemic. It's time to go and create a community of women who are able to uplift and encourage you. He didn't tell me none of that, y'all. I went home and was like, what are we doing here? I'm gonna take a vacation. I'm gonna go chill for a little bit, and then I guess the Lord will give it to me. My encouragement to you all is don't give up. You are closer than you think. You are closer than you think and then you know, because he knows it all goes together, because he has a plan and the plan for your life is good and he will give you a future and hope. It all goes together, right? It all goes together and you are able to be at peace with whatever it is that is happening because it all works out for God's good. Like, period. Do you know the amount of storms and challenges and difficulties and obstacles that I have had along the way? There was a period of time. Well, the other day, my husband and I were doing these marriage questions, and one of the questions was like, think about a memory of your wedding day and what you were feeling and all that other stuff. And I said to him, in all honesty, I was scared not to marry you, but I was scared you wasn't going to show up. Now I say, now part of me knew you was going to show up because you had already paid for it, and my boo don't play about his money, right? But the other part is that for so long, because of my insecurity about my face, because of my insecurity about my self-worth and how I view myself and how I carry myself over the years, I literally never thought I was getting married. I thought that when when I had Bell's palsy all those times and certain things transpired on outside within my relationship and all that other stuff, like I knew in my brain told me it was because of my face. And I said to myself, I never have kids. I'll never get married. No one would ever want to marry someone who looks like me. I can say now that sounds crazy as hell. It don't make not a lick of sense. But in that space, in my mindset where I was, that's exactly what I thought. So on my wedding day, as I am literally driving, because I took myself to the hairdressers that morning. I should have went the day before, but whatever. Anyway, went to the hairdressers, was driving back to the hotel, and I just was praising God because I just was like, if I had left this up to me, I would never even be here. And by that time, I had 2 kids, right? So sometimes when you're in the midst of stuff and you're struggling to believe beyond yourself and the things that you tell yourself, God had a plan for me. His plan for my life was good. And he gave me a future and hope, even when I could not see it. And so I just want to encourage you on today that when you're talking about God has a purpose for your life. And there are times where we can talk ourselves out of that. And I'm telling you, even at your lowest, I know how hard it is. Trust me when I tell you that I have been there. It has been days where I wanted to give up. There have been days where I've been like, Lord, why did you bring me here to do this? There were so many periods of times where I just was like, I have no idea how I'm gonna go forward. But when I look back over my life, I say, thank you. Thank you for that moment. Thank you for the unanswered prayers. Thank you for not giving me what I asked for. Like, there's so many things that when you are in self-doubt and you have limits and beliefs and you cannot see literally your hand in front of you, God has a plan for you, and his purpose for your life is greater than what you can ever expect. And so I just want to encourage you to just believe in, continue to trust him, continue to put your faith in him, continue to know that he knows better than you. He is our Father. He sees all, he sees beginning, present, and future. Like, there's literally nobody else can do what he do. Not a one. Nobody. So I just want to encourage y'all today. And so just to recap the episode, remember, God has a plan for your life. Trust that God has a plan for your life. God's plan for your life is for good. In spite of what test or storm you may be going through, everything will work out for God's good. And God will give you a future and a hope. Do not give up. You are closer than you think. You are right. You are exactly where He wants you to be. And if you are unsure, ask Him. This is your moment. If you feel like the world is crumbling around you and you do not know, sometimes God will bring you to your knees so you can look up. We think that we have to do everything on our own, and He is saying to you, daughter, I got you. You just have to come to me. He is knocking at your door, and you keep like, Lord, I don't have time right now. I'm gonna get you in a minute. Hold on, let me get you after I do all this other stuff. He is knocking at your door. He ain't gonna bust through. Now, sometimes He will bust through, but He gonna knock until you open. And so I'm telling you, open the door. Let Him into your heart. Let Him into your life. Let Him do His work, and remove yourself. Release yourself of the burden of trying to take on everything. As always, y'all, thank y'all for rocking with me. Thank you for listening. Again, thank you to the new and the continued listeners. I'm glad I'm back. Glad that I'm excited about this. And I'm just like this series, like literally, I'm excited about the series. Make sure y'all subscribe to the newsletter. Remember, we're doing 3 ways to slay your week with a worship song, a sermon, and a scripture. Make sure you share this episode with 5 to 10 people so we can reach 50,000 downloads by the end of this year. I am not playing, so I need y'all to step your game up. Okay, make sure you're following me on Instagram. It's Slaying Self Doubt. Until next week, see ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.